Is it March 1st? Yes. Am I still gonna do my January wrap up? Absolutely. Hello, booktube world. It's I, Capri Nicole, and I'm back with another video. I don't even know how, but the months kind of slipped by and I completely forgot to do my January wrap up, and then February rolled by, and then with like Melon and Book Magic and BTS comeback, all of that combined, the months just flew by really quickly. So I didn't even realize I didn't do my January wrap up, and I love doing wrap up. So I figured that today I would do my wrap up from January. So let's get into it. So for the month of January, I read a whopping 4 books. Yes, I know. Hold the applause. I'm out here killing the game. I'm killing it, honestly. So I just want to say that today has been a really rough day. Mentally, I've been like really drained. Today was a lot. Like not even just today, I just feel like mentally like I'm really exhausted. I kind of like made myself do everything I needed to do today. So I got a lot done, which I'm proud of. Like anytime I'm in like a funk or like have dark days, I have to do something, because if I don't, it'll drive me crazy. So I did everything I needed to do, and I love filming, so I feel like just to end my day I should film to make myself feel a little better. So I just want to say, if you're having a shitty day, do things that you love to make yourself feel a little bit better. So I figured I would spew to you guys the 4 books that I read in January. See how you feel about it. Let's talk about the books. Okay, so the first book that I read in the month of January and for the year was the webtoon BTS Save Me, and I kind of have a video planned for that one if I ever finish it. Someday it'll be out, so I don't want to go into depth too much about it, about my experience with it. But this book, webtoon Save Me, follows an alternate universe where the 7 members grew up together in high school, and they ended up splitting apart later on in life, and now they're living their 20s and separately, and their lives kind of go a little bit chaotic once they split up and they're no longer friends. One of the 7 boys, his name is Jin, and he's kind of reminiscing on their friendship and how things were, and he's wondering how it would have been if they stayed friends. While he's wondering that, he's given the opportunity to go back in time and try to fix things. All of the boys that were in little friendship group in high school are suffering in some way, so he's given the opportunity to go back in time and try to fix what they're suffering from currently. That's the gist of what the book is about. I don't want to go into depth too much about it, of how I feel about it, because I did do a video for it. I just haven't put it out yet. 3 months later, it's fine. It also was my first time reading a webtoon, and I don't know how I feel about webtoons, because I feel like if I'm looking at a screen, it needs to be like a video. I don't like looking at screens to read. Like, I don't have a problem with like ebooks, because I've read an ebook before for one of my friend's books, and I didn't mind it because I could highlight, I could put little notes and stuff like that, but I like the physical like copy. And with the webtoons just mainly being pictures, I struggled a little bit with that, because it made my eyes go a little bit crazy. I'm already blind, so I was struggling with that, and that was my first read of January. Okay, so the next book, oh, why is this upside down? Oh, I was wondering why my tabs were on the bottom. It's because I have this upside down. There we go. Okay, so the next book that I read for the month of January was With the Fire on High. I was so happy to read this book, and I was a little bit nervous. I was hoping that I love this book, because just like, it's so pretty, and I did not want to get rid of it. I was like, please let me love this book. And I loved Elizabeth Acevedo's writing, so I felt like I would be fine. But just like, look at this. Look at the book. It's so pretty. That's why I didn't want to I wanted to enjoy it, because I didn't want to have to get rid of the book. And I loved it. So this book follows the MC. Her name is Imani, and she's a teen mom, and she's trying to balance being a teenager and being a mother, her dreams and her ambitions, because she's like approaching her senior year and she's getting ready to be an adult, and she's trying to decide if college is for her, if she needs to work because she needs to provide for her child, and she's really just being kind of pushed into adulting. It's hard when you go from like being in school to straight up being an adult. It's even harder if you're already a parent. So she's trying to figure out her balance of like what will work best for her and what also works best for her child. She's a really good cook. She loves cooking, and she wants to give the world her dishes, and she just has an amazing way of making people feel at home with her cooking, or remembering things that are really special to them when they eat her food. And it's just like a little piece of her magic, you know? Oh, I love this book so much. I gave this book 5 stars. I loved it. I loved Imani. She was really real. Like you felt everything she was confused about, and like all the emotions she felt. and I just wanted to like hold her. I felt bad. At the same time, she was like a really strong character as well. She did her best as like being a responsible parent, but it's hard when you're a student and you're also trying to reach your goals. I also love the family aspect in this. I love that it wasn't like a perfect mom and dad example of an upbringing. Her father was not in the picture. Her mother, I believe her mother passed away, and she was raised by her grandmother, so it wasn't like a perfect family dynamic. They kind of made it work with what they had to do, and then with her having a child as a teenager, it also added a little bit more of mix to everything. I really love the grandmother as well. I love that she was there for Imani, and she's always there for her family, but she slowly started to set boundaries and give Imani a little bit more responsibility to where she didn't feel drowned, but she also realized, like, this is your life. You're gonna have to figure this out on your own. I have my own life. And I really appreciated that. I appreciated the love interest because he didn't push her into like wanting to date. He kind of respected her boundaries and respected like how she felt about being in a relationship. She really just wasn't ready. She had a lot of things on her mind. He respected that. I love that so much. I just love the dialogue. I love the setting. Elizabeth just has this way of like writing to make you feel so connected to the characters and just like feel everything that they're going through. And I really appreciated the co-parenting in this book as well. Like the father of Imani's child was not like perfect, like their situation wasn't perfect, but he was trying his best and she was trying her best given the circumstances, and I just appreciated like the way that was shown. I don't know, I just really love this book. I also loved the cooking because if you don't know your girl, I love to cook, okay? I love to cook. I love trying different cultures' foods. I love trying different recipes and stuff like that. So just seeing like how passionate she was with her cooking and how she would try different seasonings, or she would look at recipes, or she would add something different and make it her own, was like really well done. A lot of people were saying that this book had like magical themes because like anytime someone ate one of her dishes, they would just like remember really strongly something that made them really happy, and it felt like they were being put back in time. But me personally, I don't feel like it was like magical realism. I appreciated the way that the dishes were symbolic in a sense of where like food can provide comfort. I don't know, because when she went to a different country, it kind of felt like it was like a bit of a magical realism thing going on. So I don't know, but personally I don't think it was, but it had like a hint of it. I just love this book so much. I loved it so much. It was so well done. Everything just was chef kiss, just chef kiss. Loved it so much. Okay, so the next book that I read for the month of January was another very pretty book, The Gilded Wolves. This book is gorgeous. I think this is the first book that I have that has like deckled edges. I've never had a book like this. It's so pretty. I was so excited to read this. I'm just gonna put it right there. This book follows, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what this book follows because everybody talked about this book, but this book follows a group of misfits that are like set out to find historical artifacts from their cultures that are rightfully theirs but ended up in the hands of other people. They each have their own like goals as far as like the artifacts are concerned, or ambitions like within the little group. Like the lineage they're supposed to be raised in, they don't really fit in, so they ended up making their own little group. And I love this so much. Oh my god, I love this so much. I listened to this on, mostly I listened to this one on audiobook, but like I feel like anytime something would happen, I would flip through the book as well, because there are a couple of like pictures in there when they were talking about like the artifacts and stuff, and I loved it. I love the characters so much. It just has so much diversity in it, and it just was so relatable. It talked a lot about colorism. It talked a lot about being mixed race. Just the undertone of them looking for historical artifacts that are theirs and are in the hands of other people. That alone, I love that so much. I love the plot. It felt like something was always happening. Like there was like an immediate heist. Like as soon as they got like a mission of what they were trying to get, they were trying to get that specific thing, and then there was just, it constantly felt like someone was following them, and they had, of course, people running after them trying to get the same thing that they were. I don't know, I just love this so much. I felt like they all were each looking out for each other, but the main character, he aggravated me a little bit. What was his name? Was it Severin, whatever the hell his name is? He aggravated the shit out of me because it was just like the miscommunication thing, and I was just like, bro, if you don't pay attention to what the hell is going on, I wanted to scream. Like, come on, like, pay attention. He wouldn't pay attention. Shit started popping off, and it was kind of his fault. but we just gonna leave that in the book, let it just rest where it's at. But I loved all the characters. I just felt like they all had specific characteristics that made them really discernible and made them really interesting. Their backgrounds were really interesting to me as well. I loved it so much. I'm really excited for the next book, and I really don't get why it got such harsh reviews. Everyone was saying it was too similar to Six of Crows, and I personally didn't read Six of Crows, so I can't really judge it based off of that. But I feel like it was really well written. I felt like the plot was delivered. I felt like the characters were really interesting. The dialogue was fun. It was funny. It was exciting. I don't really get what the big critique was. I kind of want to say something, but I don't want to get too much into that because this video will never end. But I was very blown away by some of these reviews as far as this book is concerned, saying that it wasn't deserving of a higher rating, specifically because it's so similar to Six of Crows. Which I haven't read, so honestly I can't really speak on that, but I think the book was phenomenal. I thought it was really well done. I don't think I've ever read a book by this author before, so I was really excited to read this, and she just delivered exactly what I needed. It was a good time. That's all I can say. I wrote I wrote a script for every book except the last two. Can you tell? Because I'm just like rambling on this one. But yeah, I love this book. I gave this book 4 stars, and I'm definitely going to pick up the next one. The final book that I read for the month of January was The Raven Boys. We're going to just put that. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what this book is about, but if you don't know, it follows this main character. Her name is Blue, and she's been told her entire life that she's going to kiss her true love and he's going to die because of her or something like that. And she ends up meeting this group of boys, and they kind of like are like misfits, but they have, oh my god, I don't even know how to explain this, but they're kind of like misfits, and she befriends them, and they find this magical world where everything is different, and they're just like finding more out about that, and that's their journey of a little friendship, a little magical world going on, and that's the basis of this book. I hated this book. I hated this book so much, and I was so pissed because I was having such a good reading month. I just needed a book to just wrap up my month and just make it just perfecto, and everybody was telling me, read Raven Boys, read the Raven Boys. And like I did a poll on Twitter. I said, what should I read next? Everybody told me to read the Raven Boys, so I read the Raven Boys. Y'all not getting no more polls from me, okay? I'm not asking nobody else for no suggestions, because this, I don't, like, what was this? Like, I mainly listened to this on audiobook. I kind of alternated between audiobook and physical copy. I'm trying so hard not to make this into a rant, but it might be a little bit of a rant because I just have not been able to speak about this. I gave this book 1 star because it was well deserved, and I don't understand the hype around this book. Like, I was waiting, like, you know, honestly, I've seen a lot of booktubers kind of steer away from hyped books and steer away from books that are like getting a ton of hype because they want to go on their own journey of finding books that they love, because a lot of hype books have been a downfall. But there's always that little hint of just wanting to be a part of the hype train where you just want to enjoy a hyped book with everybody else. And this is one of those books where I was like, ooh, I want to join the hype train. Like, this is just like a booktube fave, and I'm just like, ooh, I want to love it. Ooh, I'm excited. Like, when I went into this book, I had like high hopes. I was enjoying it for the most part, but I think like the main reason why I was loving this book so much in the beginning was because her mother is a psychic, and her house is full of psychics, and they're all so interesting to me. And that was why, the main reason why I was enjoying the book the most in the beginning was because her mother and her aunts and her best friend were more in the beginning of the book, and I liked them. Like, they were so weird and so interesting, and just, I liked their story. When they started disappearing and the book started veering off to like Blue and the group of boys, I was just like, oh wait, I hate this. Like, I hated this book so much. I just, I know, like, there was really no world building, and it just felt like a setup for the second book. I feel like the second book probably would explain everything a little bit more, and I would be a little bit less confused and less aggravated. But I don't have time for that, and I am not reading the second book, because if I read the second book and I hate that one too, and then my time is wasted. So it's just like, There were a lot of gaps in this whole story. The way they ended up being friends was super just weird to me. I felt like Blue was so forced to be quirky and weird, and they just kept talking about the way that she dresses and how she's so different and how she wears stuff that's against the norm. And I'm just like, it was just like a typical, I'm not like other girls, but it was just like heavily pushed, and I did not understand the love triangle thing that was going on. There was so much, I didn't feel the connection between the friendship group, and I didn't feel the connection between the love interest. I didn't feel the connection anywhere. I didn't understand why the characters were like in a little friendship group. I didn't understand why her love interest was a love interest, and I didn't care. Like, I didn't care about any of the characters. I was just like, I never wanted a book to end so badly in my life, and I'm so bad with DNFing books. So if I hate a book, I'm gonna force myself to finish it because I've already started it. So as much as I wanted to stop this book, I really just pushed myself to read it. It kind of felt like, you know when someone explains something to you and you're like listening in the beginning and then they never stop talking, so you're just like, that's crazy, that's crazy. Like when you're having a conversation, that's how I felt throughout this book. Like in the beginning, I was like, yeah, and then like halfway through where it was still going on, I was like, wow. And you're just waiting for it to end, and it never ends. I don't know. I didn't get it. I didn't understand the world. I didn't understand Gansey's obsession with this mysterious world. I didn't understand where that came from. The villain, he just, there's so much about this book I did not like. The only thing that I liked about this book was the paranormal undertone. I liked the mother, and I liked the aunt, and I liked the house setting, but the second that all that went away and it just was like Gansey, Blue, and this random magical world where nothing really made sense, it was really vague, I just didn't get the obsession over the world and why they were obsessed about it and where it sprouted from and why they were so willing to follow this rich boy that was so obsessed with this magical world. And Gansey honestly aggravated the shit out of me. He just, he was like one of those boys that just like grew up rich but then tried to also be understanding, but it just was annoying as hell. I can't explain it. I just can't explain it. I think I just hated him. I think I hated him. I hated the friendship group. I did not like any of them. The writing style was really weird too. They kept talking about how poor Adam was. Like, I get it. It was like his characteristic was the fact that he was poor. Like, this has turned into a rant, but let me just stop. In the end, I hated this book, which sucks because it was the last book that I read in January, which is just like a sour way to end the month. But God, I hated this book so much. Oh my God, I was so confused because I was just like, am I just not smart enough for this book, or is this really just terrible? Like, it really was just bad. Like, it really was just bad. Like, it really just was bad. Okay, that's it. So those are all the books that I read for the month of January. Just thinking about that book just aggravated the shit out of me, but yeah. I read 4 books. The last one I hated, the other ones I loved. Let me know what books you read in the month of January. If you read any of these books, let me know how you feel about them. If you share your hatred for the Raven Boys as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching. Always remember, read a book, keep your life interesting, and I will see you next time. Bye.